Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to Lunch Break Live, real talk about obesity, food addiction, recovery, and what's really eating you. I am Carrie De La Cruz, coming to you from a very different location in my office because apparently someone was stepping on my Wi-Fi signal and it was telling me that I did not have enough signal strength to go live with you guys. So I ran around the office with my phone. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Waiting until the signal was strong enough. And well, apparently it's strong enough here in the library. So, all right, now let me settle in and just welcome you in. I'm so glad that you guys are here. And I want to let you know that today's topic, thanks to my mom, is the slippery slope. I put it out there for you guys. I wanted you to decide, what do you want to talk about today? I had a couple of ideas and my mom came back and said, I vote slippery slope. So why not? It is the season, right? So before I get too far in, I want to check in with you guys. How are you all doing? For those of you in the U.S., did you have a nice Thanksgiving? Were you able to make healthy choices that when you awoke the next day, you felt really good about the decisions you'd made? Or did you go down that slippery slope where you said, oh, I'll just have a little, and a little turned into a lot? Let me know. I see hearts flying by. All right. Well, rather than wait for your responses, because I'm sure those will come out in due time, let me talk to you a little bit about something. And I know we're familiar with this whole slippery slope concept, okay? It's the idea that, once we get going, we can't stop, right? It gets away from us, whatever it is. And it typically involves eating things that we didn't want to eat, but it can involve lots of other things. So let me begin by this and saying, I'm going to throw this premise out there. If one healthy decision can lead to more healthy decisions, is it fair to say that an unhealthy decision can lead to more unhealthy decisions? That's kind of my premise for this talk. That's kind of the basis for the slippery slope. Maybe it's not always obvious that the decisions that we're making are unhealthy in the first place, and that's where we get into trouble, right? We think it's fine because, how many of us really do set out to make stupid choices, right? Things that are going to hurt us. How many of us really, really do that on a daily basis? Granted, sometimes we do, and sometimes it's so deep we aren't even aware that we're doing it, and it comes out in therapy and we're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I've been doing that. But, by and large, the point is, like, every day on a daily basis, we don't tend to set out to make unhealthy choices, right? We tend to want to make the best decisions that we can make. And I think that's also a fair sort of basis for what I'm going to be talking about. The assumption that we are intending to make healthier choices. Okay. On a daily basis, we're not talking about life and death, live or die, do or die type decisions. We're talking about little decisions as a rule, right? Should I wear this? Should I wear that? Should I go here? Should I go there? Should I take the freeway? Should I get this off ramp? Should I, right? On a daily basis, should I call this person? Should I send this email? Should I say this? Should I not say this? As a rule, they aren't really, really big decisions that we're making every day. And yet I think it's fair to say that, a slippery slope is not necessarily paved with a bunch of horrific decisions. It's based, it's what is the word I'm looking for? It's sort of surfaced with maybe less good choices, or choices that by themselves may not be such a bad thing, but when you put them all together, you get the snowball effect, right? The snowball effect. And we know a snowball is made up of just a little tiny snowflake, right? How could a snowflake hurt you, really? Okay, when you put a lot of snowflakes together and you pack them tightly and you put them at the top of a hill, those snowflakes become a big snowball. And once it starts a-rolling, right, really hard to stop. All right, so by itself, that little snowflake, that singular decision doesn't have to be a big deal. But when you pack them all together, sometimes it can get really out of hand. And I think that's what happens to a lot of us. All right, so if we continue the snow theme, let's talk about, you come upon, now for those of you who don't live in Southern California, this might be easier to grasp, okay? So I'm going to go with you guys. Let's say you come across a frozen pond. Okay, that means it kind of has to snow where you are, and it doesn't snow here. It just feels cold enough to snow because it dipped down to a chilly 50 degrees today. So anyway, let's say you come up to a frozen pond and you see a sign that says thin ice. Thin ice. What do you do? Now, the average person says, oh, thin ice. That means it's not safe. That means I probably shouldn't step out onto it. And then you don't, right? That's what a rational, sort of level-headed person might say, all right? If you saw that sign, would you run out onto it and go, woohoo, right? No, you wouldn't. If you were going to set foot on that ice, you would do it a tippy toe at a time, very gently, because you don't want to fall through, right? So you're testing. Okay, that feels solid. Okay. Well, maybe I could just take one more step. Okay. I didn't fall through. The farther from the shore you get, the less you worry about falling through because you're busy focusing on getting on the other side. And it's a really bad time to think about falling through the ice when you're in the middle of the pond, right? The time to think about falling through the ice is when you're not standing on thin ice. So at some point, you get emboldened because you rationalize or justify every step you take is bringing you what? Closer to the other side, closer to what you want, closer to where you want to be, whatever. But it didn't start out, you didn't take a flying leap onto the ice, or you didn't run out onto it. You took baby steps. You tested it, right? You said you were being thoughtful and pragmatic, and, you were being logical and rational and making, wiser decisions. Even though we know the wiser decision would have been not to step on the ice at all. But we don't have time to talk about that right now. Every step that you're taking now is bringing you closer to something, and you can't go back to the shore, right? Because you've already gone there. So you got to keep going once you're on that. And that's kind of the thought process a lot of us have once we get out onto that thin ice. And at some point we say, I just can't, I got to get off this thin ice. I just got to get off or I'm going to fall through, right? All right. Let's see. All right. Let's say you're on the ice, right? You got out on the ice. You ignored the sign because you said, well, I'll be fine. I'll be fine. What are the types of things that you say? Oh, I guess it really wasn't that thin after all, right? Because you didn't fall through. Or, you know what? Maybe that sign is old. Maybe that's for when it really was thin ice, but it's really not anymore. Right? Maybe so. Or maybe you say, I love this one, I'm so light. I'm just so thin, I can't fall through the ice anymore. That must be for bigger people. Right? Okay. That's justifying why it is that you didn't fall through. Right? You're like, I should have fallen through, but I didn't. So then you start rationalizing and justifying and thinking everything's going to be fine. Everything is going to totally be fine. In other words, I can keep right on eating that thing because I haven't gained any weight, so it must be okay for me. I can keep right on drinking that thing because it hasn't hurt me so far and I'm doing fine. Do you see how that is? Yeah, I guess the ice isn't that thin after all. Must be an old sign. Or maybe it's thin in other places, just not where I am. It's thin for all those people over there, but not for me. I'm on the thick side of the ice. Sound familiar? All right. The bottom line is you fall through the ice by taking one step too many or by standing in a really bad spot that you put yourself in to begin with. One step at a time. And it is the same thing with a slippery slope. Okay, it starts with a tentative step, and then what happens is it leads to one unhealthy decision after another. And I mean, we know it's like, okay, I won't go to the gym today. Let's say I just won't go to the gym today. And then, tomorrow we don't go to the gym either. Now we've got 2 steps away from the gym. And we all know how much harder it is to get back to the gym, the more steps away. Well, I didn't go yesterday, so I might as well. It's just going to be harder for me. And then I'm so out of shape now. I don't have anything to wear. My gym clothes don't fit right. I need some new tennies. I've just been away so long. I bet you my membership doesn't. I don't remember my locker combination anymore. Okay? So it started with I just won't go to the gym today. Right? And then it suddenly became I can't remember my locker combination and I'm so out of shape I can't go. Falling through the ice, slippery slope. All right? Let's see how this plays out a little bit more with obesity. You start a new diet, right? You guys remember this. Start a new diet, and there's thin ice everywhere. You're warned about it. You're like, okay, you got to stay away from that. You got to stay away from that. You got to stay. You're like, oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh. Got it. Oh, my gosh. Totally not falling through. I totally know exactly. I am never, mark my words, never setting foot on that thin ice ever again. I'm cured. I mean, Scout's honor. Okay. I'm totally on this diet forever. And then like the next day, you're starting to find ways to get around the lake, to get across the lake. There's got to be some way, even though you're saying, well, but why risk it? Just, why risk it? Maybe, let me just try this a little bit longer. I'll be okay. I'll be okay. But each time we question whether we should set foot on the ice, which is each time we question whether or not we can have a certain thing that isn't really on our diet, or it's not on my point system yet with Weight Watchers until month 2, or until I've lost X number of pounds. But I don't think it would hurt if I just had one little one right now. And then someone on the other side of the lake waves to you like, come here, hey, come on over. Look what we're doing. Come out with us. It'll be so much fun, right? They're waving you over and you're like, no, I'm good over here. I'm totally good over here. And they're like, no, come on. It'll be great. It'll be great. You're doing so good. And you've been on your diet for so long. I mean, you're going to be totally great. Just come on over. Come on to the thin ice. Right? Sound familiar? Come on over. Just have a little piece. Just, how long has it been, please? I mean, you've gone so long without it. Just have one little piece. You know what? Just have one. And then just, you're done. It's the holidays. It's not like you do this every day, and it's a special time of year. The holidays are challenging, I mean, it's stressful for everybody. And I mean, no one would blame you if you just had a little extra eggnog and with a little brandy in it. I mean, no one would blame you for that. I mean, we all do it, right? More and more steps onto the thin ice, more and more steps. And pretty soon, it becomes less and less difficult to take steps out onto the ice. You're more comfortable with it now. You don't check yourself every step because you've already taken so many steps out onto it now. It's not as if you're having to ask, is it okay to take another step? You've already taken these steps. You're not going back. You're not contemplating going back. You're contemplating, you're just going to keep going. I'm just going to keep going. You know what? When the new year comes, I'll be on the other side of the lake, right? I'll be on the other side and then I'll be good. I'll just start over. The new year's coming. It's like only another 5 weeks. I can make it. I can make it till then and I'll be on the other side of the ice and I won't fall through, right? Isn't that what you do? All right. The bottom line is you might resist for a while and you might say, it's okay, I'm good over here. But then you see the party on the other side of the pond. You see what's going on over there and you say, they're having so much fun. You go, you know what? Maybe I could just hang out with them for a little while. Just for a little while. One time is not going to hurt. And you know what? And then I'll come back across in the morning. That's it, right? I'll just go do that. Now, for Thanksgiving dinner, I'll just have the pumpkin pie. It's not like I'm going to have leftovers tomorrow. And I'll be back on the other side of the lake, lickety-split, right? I'm not going to fall through. That's how it happens. Thin ice, slippery slope. Starts with one step. Got that? One step. The first step is what puts you on the slippery slope. The first step is what puts you on thin ice. Even if you don't fall through, even if you don't slide down the slope, it's the first step that puts you in the place you don't want to be. Does that make sense? The first step. And what I like to say is, if you don't take that first step, you won't fall through. You won't go down the slippery slope if you don't take that first step. Don't take the first step unless you're willing to take 11 more after it. You know what I'm saying? That equals 12 steps, guys. All right. Here's the thing. We become very comfortable with risk until it becomes the norm. All right? This is what happens. It's kind of like when an addict does drugs, right? And they build up this tolerance or this resistance, and then over time it takes more of that drug to get the same feeling. It's the same thing with obesity and with food, right? We can soon tolerate more. If we've had weight loss surgery and we say, oh, I had gastric bypass, so I dump. We can build up a tolerance in many, many cases to being able to eat more, to be able to put more sugars and more fats in, or we can tolerate the dumping, right? We begin to build up a tolerance to the risk. Instead of being risk averse, we become risk tolerant. Okay, we build up that risk muscle, if you will, and it becomes the norm. So then what do? We add more risk because we want to have a bigger reward. That's what we keep telling ourselves, right? We're going to add more risk. All right. The problem is we forget about the thin ice. While we're out there risking it all we could see is the other side of the lake. We are not thinking about falling through the ice anymore until we fall through the ice. Then we're thinking about it. Then we're cold. Then we're wet. Then we're like, oh no, how did this happen? I love that. How did this happen? How did you fall through the ice? You went out on the ice. That's how you fell through the ice. Because I guarantee you would not have fallen through the ice if you hadn't gone out on the ice. But isn't that the first thing you always say? How did this happen? How did this happen? We put ourselves there. That's how it happened. Unless somebody dragged you out onto the ice, which you might want to claim happens, but I promise you more often than not, it doesn't. You put yourself there, and that's how it happened, and that's how you fell through. All right. Let's see here. Let's talk about some of the slippery slope, thin ice kind of scenarios, especially I think it's like a perfect time because of the holidays, all right? I'm not going to use any credit for Christmas, okay? I'm only going to use cash to buy Christmas presents. If I don't have the money, I don't get to buy the gift, okay? I don't get to spend it. I don't have it. I don't spend it. What? Instant credit? You mean I could get qualified today? What? I would get $100 cash to use in the store today? 0% interest for how long? That's the same as cash. That is, totally, I am so in. See? That's how it happens. Slippery slope, right? We went from, I will never, I'm not going to, if I don't have it, I won't, to, wow, that sounds like a really great idea. One step at a time. They don't give you credit unless you apply for it. Even if you think it's coming in the envelope and you're pre-approved, you still have to apply for it. All right? That's how that looks. So you go from no credit to instant credit in the blink of an eye. Slippery slope, fell through the ice, right? Okay, here's another one. I don't ever drink. I just don't. I just don't have any interest in it at all. I'm not really a drinker. What? They're toasting around the table for Christmas? Well, I got to have a glass if I'm going to raise a toast. I just won't drink it or anything. What? Okay, I'll just have one little sip. I mean, I don't want to be a party pooper. I don't want everyone looking at me going, why aren't you toasting? Do you think you're better than... this is really good. I don't remember champagne tasting like that. I mean, I never liked champagne before. It's kind of sweet. Whew, did those bubbles go to my head fast or what? There's more? Okay, so that's where it starts. And we say, this is kind of nice. This is kind of relaxing. I get home from work and I'm very stressed out and I'll just have a little bit of Bailey's, at night because that's what you do. It's cold. I got a little fire in the fireplace. Woo, have some Bailey's. And then New Year's is coming. New Year's, and I've got to toast in the new year. I've got to celebrate. You know what? It's one night a year. One night a year. I can just totally do this. No problem. And then that's what New Year's resolutions are for, right? Slippery slope. Thin ice. All right. I never do it. I never eat stuffing or like mashed potatoes. I mean, that's like a holiday meal thing. It's not like I'm going to cook them for myself. Of course not. Who makes stuffing if it's not for Thanksgiving? So I'll just have a little bit of that because it won't be a problem because I'm not going to make it for myself. And yes, I'd love fries with that. A whole wheat bun on my burger? Sounds great. When did you guys get those little mini Cinnabons on the dessert menu? Man, they're free if I supersize my order? Stuffing and mashed potatoes went to a whole wheat bun and French fries pretty fast, didn't they? See, that's how it happens. Okay? One step at a time. If I had said no to the stuffing and the potatoes chances are pretty good I'm not going to say yes to the French fries and the whole wheat bun. You get it? All right. It starts with the first step. It starts, and guess what? Recovery starts with the first step too. Where are you going to put that step? Are you going to put that step out onto the thin ice, the slippery slope, or are you going to take a step back and say, wait a minute, let me look at this. Let me look at the big picture here. You know what? What does that stuffing and those mashed potatoes, what do those things really represent in my life? What have I done in the past with those things? I've gone to French fries. I've invited the crap carbs back into my life. I know what's happened. I'm taking a step back and I am surveying what is on the other side of that step if I go forward instead of taking that step back, right? What have I done in the past with money? I've gotten myself into trouble with money. And you know what? This is not same as cash. Cash is same as cash. Credit is not, okay? So I need to not be doing that. And in terms of alcohol, look, okay, maybe it hasn't happened to me, but I know that it happens to other people. You know, it's really hard to invalidate something that we've seen happening to other people just because it hasn't happened to us. And you know what? I think I might better listen here. All right, I might listen. If I never liked alcohol before, I don't need to acquire that taste now. I'm thinking it would just be smarter for me. It would just be wiser not to go down that road. I don't need to go down that road. Do you see what I'm saying? You're surveying what steps you take and where. All right. Let's see. If the ice is thin, if the slope is slippery, don't step out onto it. That's really the best way to save yourself. No one's forcing you to take that step, but you think they are. They're really, really not. That's you taking that step and then justifying it and rationalizing it and saying, I won't fall through. I won't slide down until you do. Right? Okay. Let's see. All right. I don't want to leave you on a dismal note that just says, you're going to fall through, it's going to be all over, you're going to fall on your butt, and you're never going to get back. Okay, look, we've all been down that road, okay? We know where the road leads. We know where the behavior leads. We know where the thought process leads. So many of us say, but I can't help it. I can't stop it. I can't help myself. Well, if you can't, who can? You know, I mean, this really does come, this is where the rubber meets the road. This is up to you to say, I will not take that first step because that first step is the one that leads to me falling through the ice. And so when it is, even if for Thanksgiving, I did the thing I said I wouldn't do and I fell through the ice, I'm going to get back on shore and I'm going to dry myself off and I'm going to put my hands in front of the fire and I'm going to warm up and I'm going to make wiser choices. Now, I'm not going to go back out on that ice or any other ice. Okay, I'm going to check it. I'm going to rein it in. I'm going to take that step back for recovery and survey the scenery. If there's stuff in your house you got to get rid of because you know that once you start, you don't stop, then get rid of it now. It's not too late. I don't care if it's the holidays. I don't care if someone gave you a goodie basket of baked goods. Give it to the neighbor, preferably not the one that's diabetic. Okay, so just take the steps. If you're going to take any steps, take the steps that do lead to recovery, that do lead to healthier behaviors and feeling good about yourself. Like I said past week, I have never, sorry, I had a call coming through right in the middle. I have never regretted anything I didn't eat. I never sat there and kicked myself in the pants for not eating pumpkin pie or apple pie or anything else. Never once. And I didn't do it this year either. Not only did I not eat it, but I didn't regret not eating it, all right? It begins with the good decisions, the healthy decisions begin with the first healthy decision, and they go from there. I believe, as I bring us back to the original premise that I had, healthy decisions can lead to more healthy decisions just as easily as unhealthy decisions can lead to more unhealthy decisions, all right? It's up to you. What are you guys going to decide to do for yourself? I'll leave you there. And because it's so late, I am going to check in on your comments offline. But I want to thank you all for being here as I get back into the swing of things. I'm wrapping up November here as I promised I would. I told you guys I'd give you November. And I know it's really challenging because it's the holidays, but we have to decide if we want to keep doing this. Does it make sense for me to be sitting here talking in your face for a half an hour during the week or not? We've got to make some decisions on this thing to see if it makes sense for all of us. So what needs to happen is we want to build the base of people that are joining the show, that are watching it after the fact, that are commenting and helping and sharing this with others. So that's what we want to do. We want to reevaluate that this week. So I'm going to put that at the top of your list. All right, guys? Because, you don't have enough things to do this week, I'm sure, but think about me. Anyway, you guys, listen, have a great week. I will see you tomorrow. I hope you enjoyed the program today as ever. And I want to remind you all to have courage, seek peace, embrace joy, and above all, live your recovery. Remember, you can't stop feeding what's eating you if you don't know what's eating you. Take care, you guys. Bye.